Welcome to Federal Special Program Capital Beat. The entire nation saw a horrific and a barbaric video of two women in Manipur paraded naked. And what happened? The government broke silence. Prime Minister Narendra Modi broke silence, and Supreme Court took suo-motu cognizance. And what did Supreme Court say when it took the suo-motu cognizance? It said that it has directed the center and the state to take stern action against the perpetrators. And if they don't take a stern action, then it will be Supreme Court which will intervene and they will step in. Now, I want to just narrate a few things. That Supreme Court was seized of this matter through a PIL on May 6th. And when this writ petition was filed in the Supreme Court, Tushar Mehta, who is the Solicitor General, he assured the court, and I'm going to quote what Tushar Mehta said at that point of time. He said that we are on the side of the public. The matter may be taken by the petitioner with utmost sensitivity because any misinformation may aggravate the situation in the state. Things are returning to normalcy after a lot of efforts from the central and the state governments. This is what Tushar Mehta gave as an assurance to the court. Now, the Supreme Court told Colin Gonsalves, who is the petitioner for Manipur, and it said at that point of time that your skepticism cannot lead us to take over the law and order. We don't want this proceeding to be used as a platform for further escalation of violence and other problems which exist in the state. If you have suggestions, we can take it. Let's not see this as a partisan matter. It's a humanitarian issue. This is what the Supreme Court said. Now, what happens? After Supreme Court said, after center's assurance as well, we see that more than 100 people have died. Weapons were looted from the armories. And still, what do we believe in? Do we believe the center? Do we believe Tushar? The question we are asking today is that did the court dither or hesitate in taking a concrete action right at the beginning itself? Maybe the lives could have been protected. I'm joined by former Chief Justice of Allahabad High Court, Justice Govind Mathur. So thank you so much for joining on the Federal. And so my first question to you is that, of course, this horrible video of the two naked women who were paraded, the way Supreme Court took suo-motu cognizance, everybody was in awe of Supreme Court at that point of time. But should we not ask a question that why did Supreme Court act earlier? It could have given concrete orders, it could have set up a committee, and probably this could have led to the protection of more lives. Yes, sir.
You see, first we must see the chronology of the events. In the last week of the March, the judgment was given by the Manipur High Court, and immediately thereafter, certain unwarranted incidents occurred. At that time, there was certain reporting that the ethnic war, maybe the ethnic issues may be there. But all right, and ultimately on the 6th of May, a petition was filed before the Supreme Court. And on 18th of May, when Mr. Tushar Mehta made the statement that you have just quoted, and he also informed the court that his appeal has also been filed before Division Bench of the Manipur High Court, and therefore Supreme Court is not required to go further in the matter. As a matter of fact, that petition was not to challenge the order passed by the Manipur High Court. That was a petition pointing out what is happening in the state of Manipur. As per the newspaper reports, Mr. Gonsalves at that time, he mentioned that the Chief Minister of the Manipur, Mr. Viren, he himself is making provocative statements, provocative tweets, and certain unwarranted incidents occurred. That was the right time for the Supreme Court to take some appropriate action, especially when the Supreme Court mentioned, yes, the order passed by the Manipur High Court is apparently bad, unconstitutional, and further to the extent that Justice Muralidhar, who passed that order, as per newspaper reports, it was mentioned that if a High Court judge is not adhering Constitution, what we can do. I think that was the right time when the cognizance of the facts should have been taken by the Supreme Court, and at least some direction could have been given at that time to Human Rights Commission, or a committee as suggested by you just now would have been constituted to look into all the facts. So uh, 18th of May, I think, was the right time when some appropriate action should have been taken, instead of considering that this is an effort to challenge the order passed by the Meghalaya High Court single bench before the Supreme Court, which, as I stated, that was not as a matter of fact, that was a petition apprehending ethnic violence at larger level. If that would have been checked at that stage, I think we would not have been at this stage which we are now facing. We are really, when we are, the entire country is facing a shame.
But Justice Mathur, would it be right to say, and I'm sure you have been in the legal field, would it be right to say, of course, nobody ever challenges the highest court, but today people are questioning the decision and the wisdom of the highest court, that why didn't they act earlier? So are we in a position to say that Supreme Court failed to do its duty at the right time? Can we say that?
No, I will never tell that the Supreme Court failed to discharge its duty at the right time. Yes, I would like to say that yes, they failed to assess the objective conditions existing in the Manipur state at the relevant time. If action would have been taken, at least by directing the Human Rights Commission or by constituting a committee to look into all the facts pointed out by the petitioners and petitioners' counsel, Mr. Gonzalez, the position would have been different. But I will never say that the Supreme Court failed to discharge its duty.
But Justice Mathur, while you say this, and with all due respect to what you have said, there is a feeling that Supreme Court has been consistently inconsistent in its approach when it comes to fundamental rights. And why I'm saying this is, I'm going to give you a few examples. Now, say, for example, hundreds of people have been killed in fake encounters. Everybody knows across the country. Houses of the minorities have been demolished, but by the majoritarian mob. And even then we see the courts maintaining a stoic silence. So what would you say, that are the fundamental rights being enforced by the highest court properly, the way it should be?
You see, Article 32 itself is a fundamental right. In normal course, if anything that pinches to the court, and court arrives at a conclusion that yes, there is a flagrant violation of fundamental rights, court may take action suo-motu. It is the same powers are also available under Article 226 to the high courts, though that is not a fundamental right. But I don't know why sometimes judges fail to assess the actual condition. But whenever all these issues were brought before the Supreme Court or before the high courts, I think high courts as well as the Supreme Court made its best efforts to take appropriate action. But yes, certainly Supreme Court as well as high courts, where these matters were brought into their knowledge, failed to assess the objective conditions. And sometimes what happened, that the court also believe in the executive. Court think that the executive will take appropriate action, as in the case of Manipur.
Right.
But you see,
so are you saying, Justice Mathur, that what Tushar Mehta gave an assurance to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court believed in what he said, and the Supreme Court thought that probably the center and the state will act accordingly?
Yes, I feel that when a council of the ASG is saying that making some statement before the court that carries a weight, the court rightly believed on that. But even then I feel that yes, when certain facts were brought into knowledge of the court by Mr. Gonzalez, at least those should have been verified at that time.
But why do you think the court failed to do that? It could have given orders, it could have set up an inquiry. What was the reason? It didn't want to take the government head on, if I may ask you very candidly, on this issue? You
see, entire Northeast is quite a sensitive area. I feel that the court was of the view, must have been of the view that yes, let the government take initiative. And you see the executive from the day first, even the prime minister didn't utter a single word till few days earlier. This is only after coming out this video of the two nude women. Then
Absolutely.
only the prime minister uttered something. You see that I would like to quote, I would like to mention a former Prime Minister Mr. Manmohan Singh. People normally mentions that he was in his mute mode, but as a matter of fact, whenever required, he was speaking. He was not speaking when it was not warranted, but whenever warranted, he was speaking. And I think our present Prime Minister must also speak on the issue. He must come forward. At least this is now with just I have read that today this matter has been raised even before the British Parliament.
Yes.
Today this matter has been raised before the floor of the British Parliament. So this is the right time when concrete action is required to be taken by the executive. And yes, Supreme Court must monitor all the entire issue now at this stage.
But Justice Mathur, don't you think it's an irony that only when a horrible video like this comes out, the courts really open their eyes? And of course, the political class as well, as what you said, the Prime Minister also broke his silence only after a video surfaced. Now, what bigger irony than this? Do we need videos to waken up, to shake up the courts, to shake up the political class?
You see, the unfortunate part is that the video of the first week of May, it was the incident is of 4th May, that came into knowledge of each and every person in the third week of July. No NGO took any action. No political party raised voice. As a matter of fact, we all were sitting just as a silent spectator. We were watching what is happening in Manipur. If this would have been happened somewhere in the mainland states, the position would have been different. We have also seen that if a minor incident occurs or some incident, I withdraw the word minor.
So you are saying that just because it was a northeastern state, it was easily brushed aside and deliberately put aside?
I don't say deliberately, but yes, we are in a habit of ignoring the small states.
Right. But sir, whom would you hold accountable at this point of time? Are courts not responsible? Is Prime Minister not responsible? Is the Chief Minister not responsible? Where does the buck stop? Because here everybody is questioned whether it is the
frankly,
courts,
I will say,
the Prime Minister.
First of all, it is the Chief Minister.
Okay.
Then the government. And ultimately, yes, the Supreme Court is also, and all the constitutional courts are also custodian of the Constitution. Whenever there is little violation of any constitutional provision, and especially the fundamental rights, courts should also come forward. So ultimately, the courts, this failure of the courts also.
Those are strong failure of the court, and of course, failure of the Supreme Court as well, you would say?
Certainly, I will say at least on 10th of July also. 10th of July, when the matter was again brought in, before the court again mentioned, all right, it is the matter is required to be looked into by the executive, and it is the matter that is to be taken into consideration by the state. I think at least on 10th of July, court should have taken some steps at that time. Now it is the high time when concrete steps are required to be taken by the judiciary.
What do you think is the solution, sir, now, given the fact that there is a huge trust deficit in the current government? The governor of Manipur has also said that, she tried to send reports, but nobody paid heed to her. So if the governor is speaking out, governor has all the powers to dismiss a government. If the government is not acting according to the democratic principles, and if there is such a scale of law and order problem, and it's a complete mayhem, the governor does have the power to dismiss the government.
Yes, the governor is required to recommend the central government that yes, there is a constitutional breakdown in the state, and the central government is required to act upon that, and precedent rule is required to be imposed there if any such recommendation is made by the governor. And governor must say, when we have seen these kind of videos, then yes, this is a constitutional breakdown. There is not a simple issue of law and order.
Absolutely. So according to you, the solution is imposing the president rule. That's what you're saying?
Yes, at this stage, president rule is required.
Right. And if the government doesn't impose the president rule, because that doesn't look like a likelihood.
You see, when governor is making such a recommendation, then government and the president of India, we hope they will act in accordance, and we trust that they will act in accordance with constitution and looking to the all objective conditions existing.
But Justice Mathur, I just wanted to clarify something, because Supreme Court also said that if the center and the state don't take a stern action against the perpetrators, then the court will step in. Now, can they dismiss the Manipur government on their own and impose a government rule? Can Supreme Court do that?
I think it would not be proper for the court. It would not be proper for the judiciary. Yes, judiciary, after examining all circumstances, if any recommendation made by the governor, or after collecting all the facts from the government, it may make some recommendations to the government. But to dismiss an elected government by the judicial order, this would not be proper. This would against the democratic values.
Right. So one or two last final questions before I end the program, that how do you see the things unfolding from here? Because I also wanted to ask you about the instruments of state, like the Human Rights Commission, the National Commission of Women. Now, they started speaking only after the video surfaced. If the video had not surfaced, we saw all this while the Women and Child Development Minister keeping absolutely quiet on Manipur. We didn't see the human rights violations, the Human Rights Commission saying anything on this. So what would you say to these instruments?
This is utter failure of these all commissions. Right. I say this is not only the one incident. I have seen these Human Rights Commission, the State Commission, as well as the National Commission, Women Commission. Normally, they are not taking action when they are required to take appropriate steps. They are required to discharge their statutory duties. These commissions have been failed. I have not seen the Human Rights Commission, State Commission, as well as National Commission coming forward at their own in these matters. I think they are somewhere, they are affiliated with governments. They think themselves as a part of government, whereas in our system, under the statute they have been constituted, they are independent agencies. They are required to take concrete steps. They can take. They are not the toothless bodies. These are very strong bodies. But unfortunately,
right,
these bodies are not acting in accordance with the statutes.
But Justice Mathur, how will these two women get justice? And also, Mr. Biren Singh himself said that it is just not about this particular video. There are so many videos like these. There have been so many human rights violations within the state. Now, how will the people of Manipur really go back to normalcy? What can the court do? If the center and the state, they look very, very reluctant to do anything. What can the court do now? What is the firm action which the court will now take? Because I'm asking you, sir, is that next week, the center and the state are supposed to submit a report. What we know for now is that some 4 or 5 arrests have been happened. Then the house of the accused has been burned down. That is also what we know. So what is the kind of report which the center and the state will give to the court?
You see, the courts are neither helpless nor helpless. If courts are satisfied that somebody is playing mischief with them, then courts can take every action required to meet the ends of justice. I have full faith in our judicial system. I'm sure the court will take appropriate steps. I'm not here to suggest what steps are required to be taken and what order can be passed. But I trust, and I have complete trust in our judicial system. And I think the court will certainly take appropriate action in the entire matter to meet the ends of justice. And I just want to tell you one thing more. This is in Manipur, you will find that earlier also, at one point of time, you will find the fact that a group of women, they came on roads, and they mentioned that yes, come and rape us. That was for injustice made by the Indian army at that time. But nobody took care of that also. We are in habit of ignoring northeast states. We have to understand these states are our integral part. You see what is happening there. This is only after when these videos become viral, people are talking about it. Otherwise, from violence is there from first week of May. Nobody was speaking. Nobody was talking about it. At that time, we were busy in other things. Government, everybody was busy somewhere in Maharashtra, sometime in Rajasthan, somewhere other places. We never took Manipur and other states of Northeast seriously.
Unfortunately, I don't know what's really going to happen, but next week, the center and the state are supposed to submit a report, and we all hope that the court takes a firm stand. Thank you so much, Justice Mathur, for joining us on the federal. And let me tell all the viewers that Justice Mathur had just landed in Jodhpur, and he obliged us with an interview. Thank you, sir, so much. You must have been tired and exhausted.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And I want to appeal to the viewers who are joining us for the program. Subscribe to our channel, send us your feedback, and stay tuned to the federal. Thank you so much, Justice Mathur. Thank you.